you ain't supposed to say.
Yo. Hey guys.
Ew.
It's Lexi.
And I'm Nikki.
And this is
Don't Say That
Shh. We'll make sure, we talk about all the bullshit you don't want to talk about. So,
episode 16.
Episode 16 already.
Hours up in this week.
16 weeks y'all been listening to us talk all this bullshit. Okay.
Thanks for listening.
So, no bullshit this month. It's the second week of Black History Month. Did y'all stop saying the N-word? I just want to make sure, I'm keeping tabs on you guys. And if you had the struggle of saying the N-word, let me know what context you use the N-word in and why you feel like you needed to use the N-word. And was it only towards black people or was it towards white people too? But we'll get into that anyway. We have a guest here today. Say your name, guest.
Hi, I'm Lee Charm. What's up?
Hey.
Yeah.
We always have to get our people in here. Friends to the show, friends, in real life. Gotta get it to him.
Amen.
Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram. I know you guys see me on YouTube. Subscribe to us
Millie
on
Rockford.
YouTube.
Follow it.
Like us on the Anchor app. Follow us on Spotify. And if you're listening to us and you want to hear us on Apple Podcasts because you have an iPhone, just request us. We're still trying to get that.
Was that iPhone shade?
That was not iPhone shade. You guys are not going to come for me today. I'm going to do mine today. And don't forget to donate to us on Patreon. So become a patron on Patreon. Or you can donate to us on the Anchor app. Even $1 helps, Let's make the studio time.
Anything helps, everything.
Anything helps. And if you want ad space, you can also hit us up if you want to feature your ad on our podcast. We make anything sound good. You hear our voices? You're listening to us right now.
That was a humble brag.
Go ahead and drop. Go ahead and talk your.
I might need to get my voiceover voice on. Is that your white voice when you say your voiceover voice?
Girl, what?
It depends on the demographic.
Yeah, it depends on my demographic. I might need to be thug it out or tone it down.
She's crazy. Crazy Virgo.
So today, I'm still on the last episode. Look at that. You see us wearing the same outfits because it's the same day. So please don't ask me
Nobody noticed
why.
that.
People notice that and y'all like to come for me while I'm wearing the same outfit because it's the same day. Please do not ask me why I'm wearing the same outfit.
Oh, you wearing it from last week. She's lying, y'all.
I'm wearing it. I woke up the next week and I put the same thing on. I even fixed my hair the same
She
exact
do
way.
her laundry every 3 days.
I didn't brush my teeth or anything. Just so you guys know, I'm here. Take me as I am.
She used that curl stuff in her.
That's all I did. I threw the curl stuff in my hair and I just got up. So just did one the whole bath or something like that.
Nah, we gotta chill. We gotta chill
because
okay,
it's Black History Month and we're supposed to be talking highly of ourselves, right?
Yeah, no, we were just joking.
We were just joking.
Light jokes.
Light jokes. Because we're about to get heavy, so that's what we're gonna do, little light jokes.
And no whole baths.
No whole baths. So what's the topic we're gonna talk about today? Integration. Yeah, I know y'all gonna say, "Oh, don't talk about that today."
But they want to talk about it. We're an integrative society.
We're integrated.
Are we?
You ever looked at the public school?
My public school is diverse.
You're in Long Island, so you wouldn't know.
Oh yeah. It depends where you grew
I
up.
don't even have a school age kid yet, so I don't even know how I look. But I know the high school I went to in Wisconsin was black.
I know you're gonna come for me because I don't send my kids to the local schools. I know you see me on YouTube. Usually when people start lying, they start scratching their face and stuff.
Tell them why, because New York, they say doesn't have a good public school system. I think a lot of public school systems are bad, but they say in particular New York is not that great.
I didn't send them to local
I
school.
agree. I went to school in Jersey City, and public schools were horrible.
You went to school all the way in New Jersey?
Yeah, I'm from Jersey.
From Jersey.
I'm from the dirty
Elementary
Jersey.
school?
Yeah, elementary school. I went to PS 29, PS 41. And in our school, there was kids 16 years old in the 4th grade. Could not read, could not write. This is before that No Child Left Behind stuff. So
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're
I
not
remember.
even that old, so
Yeah, but you gotta understand, I think a lot of people get lost in that there's still a lot of illiterate people in the world. A lot of kids still can't read. And inner city schools, you have to be careful. The only reason why I caught on because I went home one day and told my mom, there's a kid in my class, he's 16 years old. And she's like, what?
How old were you?
We were 4th grade?
9.
9?
You're 9 in 4th grade.
We were kids. I remember we were terrified. terrified
Yeah, 'cause
because
this
we got
grown man with a
grown
beard.
man in the class with
Pull
us.
my kid out of school. STAT. He been homeschooled.
Just in case you can't spell stat, okay? Just in case some of you
Yeah.
guys are a little illiterate and you can only listen to us. Stat.
Who you talking
And I
about?
still even remember his name. That's crazy. Like, yeah, he was. But now that I think about it, he probably had a disability.
And they didn't want to.
They didn't. Yeah, you know, parents got to sign you up. Some parents are in denial, so but he could not read.
The only person you hurt is yourself. When you don't get your kid evaluated, the only person you hurt is yourself and your child. You don't hurt anybody else when you don't evaluate your kid.
Yeah.
But, it's okay. We're going to get into that, actually, because some of our topics today are about the educational system and how they have segregated us and how integration has kind of like failed us as a black community.
You think?
You think? I think. I don't know.
No, we're going to see by the end of this episode.
Let us know what you think about the end of this episode after you listen to all our stuff, right? So let's start with Plessy versus Ferguson.
Oh.
Yeah.
I go.
I think she didn't do the connect. I was supposed to mind melt with her, but she didn't get it there. I did
so
the alley-oop,
crazy.
and you was not ready for me. Where's the team, the dynamic duo? Yeah, mind melt. Okay.
All right, so before Brown versus Board of Education,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say BOE a lot today. So that's what I mean, Brown versus BOE.
Mm-hmm.
There was Plessy versus Ferguson. So Plessy versus Ferguson facts. It was a landmark 1896 U.S. Supreme Court decision that upheld the constitutionality of racial segregation under the separate but equal doctrine. It stemmed from a train passenger named Homer Adolph Plessy. He decided to sit in the whites-only section and refused to move. I want to know, how did they know that he was white?
How did they know he's white? Well, if you look up...
if you look at a picture of
How
him...
did they know he was
How did they know he was black?
I mean, that's what
Sorry.
I meant. Sorry,
How did they know he's black?
How
If you
did they
looked
know
up
that he
a-
was black?
Well, it's the one-drop rule. I was going to say the N-word. I almost messed up on the
It's not even
on
a
the
one-drop
podcast.
rule. So we're going to post a picture on our Instagram when we talk about this episode. I just want y'all...
I believe someone told, because remember,
Okay.
blacks didn't travel.
How did they know?
Someone knew, and I believe someone told. And the Plessy v. Ferguson case just upheld the separate but equal doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
So the separate but equal doctrine came in place following the Emancipation Proclamation and the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And the separate but equal document just stated that as long as everything was separate and it was equal, it was fine. So blacks went to their own schools, blacks lived in their own housing, blacks had their own water fountain, blacks had their own facilities. And as long as everything was equal, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
So separation was okay as long as things were equal, and that was the issue. And then Plessy v. Ferguson, he was on a train cart, and he was in the front. So he was asked to go to the back because blacks weren't allowed to ride in the same train car. It was against the law.
Mm-hmm.
You could not ride in the same train cars with your white counterparts. And again, we're talking about the 1800s and 1900s where you only had whites and non-whites, or you had whites and colors, or you had whites and blacks. So that's what we're speaking about. And in that time, again, Plessy, someone must have shouted him out. You're not supposed to be here. He was asked to move. Based upon the fact that he was a mulatto,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he
That's
passed.
just crazy.
he
as
said,
hell.
no, I'm going to stay. And he took the case all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled the separate but equal doctrine will stand.
Because they wanted that separate train cart, just have an equal one. They still didn't want him on a
And
train.
you know what's funny, just for context, so that was after... so that happened in 1896, right? And 1865, that's when slavery was abolished. So that's when they made those amendments, and they had that 14th Amendment, which it was supposed to have it created the equal protection clause. So that's what he was arguing when he went to court. Like, I'm not equally protected under the 14th Amendment.
His argument was actually that the cart in the back that they wanted him to sit in was
Wasn't equal.
filthy. And it wasn't equal.
But when he went to court, that's what he argued. But that
Yeah,
was,
when
that
he
was
went to
probably
court,
the truth.
of course, when he went to court, he argued, but in the beginning, he was trying to say he was white. But when he went to court, he
Wait a
wasn't
minute.
claiming he was black and sitting in front. The front was like, wait a minute, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me.
He is-
And as you say, when you look
You
at his
look a little
picture,
olive.
it looks like he's
Yeah,
white.
no,
So
he was 7th, 8th white.
Right.
He was a literally not even a quarter. He was
right,
8th black.
right.
Like,
So in the
how?
beginning, he was like, look at me,
one
look at
drop
me,
rule.
look at me, I'm black,
one drop.
I'm white. However, the cart or the train cart, you know, like the when you look at train cars and you see the ones where the hobos run and sit on the caboose, the one in the back, it was not the same as the one in the front. So he didn't want to sit there.
Yeah, just like first class is different from coach.
Exactly.
Being coach. Like, you know, you got to get there, but at the end of the day, like, you know.
If you get, I know, I feel you.
So much coach travelers.
I'm a coach traveler too.
Right.
But if I could sit in first class, I'd like
But
that.
I'm just saying, though, like, at the end of the day, we got to look up to people like that because, like, I don't know. If I grew up doing deep segregation, because we are still technically segregated. We just, they hide it now a lot better. But, like, you know, I probably would have been dead because, like, stuff like that, no way. You going to get me to go to the back?
I'm like, nah, I'm good right here.
You go to the back.
You get right, you
go
look
to the
back
back.
there.
No, because you fly, so you don't want to be sitting on no
But
dirty
back in the
thing,
day,
you know?
I could be in a tracksuit and I'm still not going to the back. You know why? Because the bathrooms be back there. Who would?
True that.
Who be?
I don't like to be in the back either because the bathrooms be back there.
You
True
know,
that.
you're in the back. You smelling whatever somebody did. Who wants to be in the back? You know, the back also represents a lot. Like even outside of just segregation, like, you know, nobody wants to be last. Nobody, like, you know, the back represents a whole bunch of negative stuff. So if you think about it, what they were really doing is saying that you're second class. That's what's separating people. White is superior. Black is second class. Because, you know, black, and I always argue this about segregation and discrimination, period. Black people were not brought to America to participate in the Constitution. We were brought in America as the help. So therefore, we were not deemed or seen
Laborers.
as humans.
Right.
We're not even humans at this point. So even with all the fighting and Brown versus Board and all that stuff, like, you have to understand they're fighting as an animal, not even as a human. So when you look at how they use segregation and how they try to separate people, it's not that they were just separating people because you're black. They were separating because you were an animal in their eyes.
Still.
And we're going to stop using the word they. Because we know, you know, the separation, and we know the European forefathers that created this country. In regards to coming over here to America, and that's a great point that you did make. When we were arguing the case, and even though, you know, I'm a believer that segregation should have stayed, but we'll get on that later.
Okay, Malcolm X.
All right now.
When the fight was there, the fight was about people that weren't considered people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, there's a negative connotation about going in the back and being last and not being first. However, the separate but equal doctrine, had it have been the way it was created by the forefathers, it was created by the, you know, the powers that be at that time, it was supposed to, following that Lincoln guy that we all look up to, and I did the quotes, everything was supposed to be the same. However, the evil people, the people that didn't look at us like we were the same, didn't let that happen. But in you know, when you look at things in theory, separate but equal meant your water and this water, it's the same. Your fountain is the same. Your bathroom and your bathroom is the same. But we don't want commingling to occur between the races.
Right.
Right.
Man, it's crazy. That's why you gotta learn your history and learn the context, and we also have to learn what other things happened during the same time. That's why we tell stuff in the timeline that we do, and also have you reference back to other things that are happening during the same period, because I think we forget that things coincide with each other, and we just look at facts. So we're just like, oh, okay, 19 this and 19 that, and everything. We're like, wait a minute, but this was happening in this, and slavery stopped in this year. We're like, well, wait a minute, he was alive in this year. He's talking about, he's like, well, yeah, because he was arguing as an animal. So they're looking at him as arguing as an animal. You can't. I'm looking at you, and they come in probably in the back. The judges are talking like, these animals are out here asking us for rights, and that's what they think, because
like,
that's what
their parent. That, like, you gotta understand, like, their generation, and they're during this time frame, they were not too far removed from sharecroppers, and sharecroppers were not too far removed from slavery.
Right.
So at the end of the day, like, when we're talking about all of these rules that have been set hundreds of years ago, you're trying to come and change something that's been with this country, because, you know, that's what how America flourished. They built a free economy off of free labor.
Yeah.
You know? So at the end of the day, like, why are we changing all of this now? We have become a very rich, successful nation. We have all this money. We use these Africans who are monkeys to us and build it up. Now they talk about they want to sit in the front of the bus. You weren't brought here for that. That's what the argument is about.
You would be helped.
And the ignorance, you bring a good point. Even when we look at the impeachment today, of
Right.
Donald Trump, the references is always made to what the forefathers said.
Right.
But for some reason, when we speak to slavery or when we speak to segregation, black people always say, well, that happened a long time ago. But our very existence is created on what happened a long time ago. Right now, if you
It wasn't
turn
even
on
that long. That's why
exactly,
when we talk
but
about this
again,
stuff, we always name
right,
the year because it was
right,
not that
but
long
again,
ago.
when you, I looked at the Senate speaking, and I forgot who was up there talking, and they were talking about what George Washington referenced to, where he was saying this, and what Lincoln was thinking about, and when they and they always go to the impeachment trial of Bill Clinton, and they always go to the impeachment trial of Richard Nixon. They always refer to the past to talk about the present.
Yeah, 'cause
but for
it's a
some
precedent.
reason,
It was
when
there.
black people, especially the dark black people, and I'm going to say it out there, when we
it's
we
true.
speak about slavery, we say, well, let that go. Why are you talking about that? That happened a long time ago. That has nothing to do with today. When our very existence has to do with history. You
'Cause the way
cannot
you
learn.
live is like animals. Your communities look like you live in a pig pen. You think about that stuff. I mean, we ain't gonna get into that. But even the very things of projects, and they say a lot of black people live in the projects, and there's piss in the elevators, and there's dirt on the floors, and there's stuff like that. Not to say that you don't come from those beginnings, and you don't. But why do people move out of it? If it's such a great place, why do people want to strive to be out of it? If it's such a great
why
place to
won't you
live,
live there?
why won't you live there? The lady lived there for a couple of weeks, and she almost had a heart attack. You know, I mean, if you guys don't know, a couple of months ago, I forgot who the woman was, but we'll probably reference her on our Instagram. She lived in NYCHA for a couple of weeks. NYCHA is our projects in here in New York City, and she was appalled by the water. And they gave her probably the best apartment, but she was like, the water was dripping and all types of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, because we live like animals. So we've been living like animals because we have the animal mentality, but we don't even know why we have that animal mentality because we don't look back. So they know why they have that crazy dynamic. They know why they want to take everything. They know why they want to take charge. They want to create rules because their forefathers have been creating rules and taking
also
charge.
gotta
and
look
doing
at
stuff.
the people that's telling us, you know, forget about it. Stop looking at that. Who are you people telling us?
A lot of people that tell us are our own people.
Is it ignorant? Is it people that we want to learn from?
But listen to me. While our own people will tell us or not tell us what we should be looking at, when any other group of people want rights, they look to the rights that we got in civil rights movements
And
to
use
step
us.
on that, to use it to go create. But we don't look to what happened to us to move to be better.
Right.
And as we move forward to Black History Month, that's the reason why we're talking about segregation and integration, because it is so important, because as we look to ourselves in the 21st century, how segregated or integrated, and what are the benefits or the negative connotations behind it.
Right.
It's all crazy. So now we're gonna get into just a little bit briefing about Jim Crow.
Yeah, the reign of Jim Crow. So after, so just for a time frame, like time periods, 1865, that was the emancipation and the abolishment of slavery. Then Plessy versus Ferguson happened in 1896. So
Ain't
that was
too
around.
far.
Yeah, so that's the time. I mean, that's afar from 2020.
It's still
but
the 1800s,
when you compare it to like the
the 90s.
1960s. The 1960s, when the civil rights movement and these things occurred, it wasn't that far off.
Right.
About 50, 60 years from.
Right, not too bad. Yeah, that's 100 years, 1865 to 1965, 100 years, and you have civil rights movement. So I mean,
right. So
yeah.
okay. So right. So before Plessy versus Ferguson, they had the black codes, which lasted like from in the mid 1860s. Those were the prefaces to Jim Crow. They appeared in the South. We talked about this in one of our last podcasts.
Yes.
They gave precedence
The
over
president
and when where the slaves could work and for how much. They even seized children for labor purposes. So those were things that mimicked what came to be Jim Crow. Jim Crow laws were put into effect after the Reconstruction era around 1870. So this is all still the same time frame, guys, through the 1960s.
Through the time of Martin
Now
and Malcolm.
I got family members, like
That are
brothers
born in-
and sisters that were born around that same time. So these are people
Grandma was
that are
born in
still living.
1939.
Yeah.
She's alive still. 1939, she's still alive. So those people are still alive.
The first, I don't know her name, and I'm not going to quote it exactly, so I'm going to loosely base it, but I believe the first young African American young lady who segregated schools is still alive.
Wow. See?
The one probably in that news when you see those famous clips of the news
She's
in
a
the black
black
and
lady,
white.
and you have a picture of her going to kindergarten, and she's the first girl, and she's still alive. So that's when I saw that, I was like, oh, how are you still alive? And I'm alive.
Can you imagine that knowledge that she, everything that she experienced and endured? Like,
I don't think people realize, and this is like the art, cause like, see, the thing about it is like these conversations are really sketchy, because like when black people have a conversation like that, they automatically deem us as being like a rebel, or that we're racist, which black people cannot, for the record, be racist because we didn't create it. So black people can't be racist, and we can't be racist. Because if you think about it, a black person, and I, as a black person, been black my whole life, gonna die black, in the afterlife I'm gonna be black. We accept every culture.
And nobody accepts
we
us.
talked about that inclusivity that we have.
A black
as
person,
people.
because I have a little bit of something to everything in my family. You know what I'm saying? Now, your grandma may turn up her nose when you first walk in. Who that white girl? That white, But after a while, she'll like, you're kind of cool. Let me cook for you. Da da da.
Yeah.
But other cultures are not so accepting.
No.
Like
you have to prove
you're
yourself.
You're a jungle bunny. You always gonna be one.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, if you really think about it, even like if you really think about what black people offer, I don't understand how we get such a bad rap. Because black people do crazy things sometimes. But every other culture does. But when you think about what we have contributed
to society,
not only to America but to the world, and I've been a little bit everywhere.
Right.
A little bit everywhere. I've been, I travel around. Black people have put stamps all over this great world, and we've done amazing things. We built and assisted in amazing parts. Some things that are still standing up, even with the artifacts of how America became so great. The White House, which should have been called the Brown or Black House because it was built by black people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Inventions.
And we don't realize how great we are.
We don't. And the reason why we don't is because
we don't read.
Not only that, we have. It's like it's like a kid. Keep telling the kid you're dumb, you ain't nothing, you ain't gonna never be nothing, you're dumb, you're stupid. Some kids are not strong enough to break out of that and they actually become nothing.
Right.
They actually do nothing. Then there are some kids who, this is a lesser percentage of those kids, actually break out and do great things. And the thing about it, a lot of black people are like, I hate to say this because a lot of people would disagree, but they're prisoners of their environment and the people that are around them. Everybody don't have a lot of inspiration. They don't have people that did better. They don't have financial literacy. People that teaching them how to do economics and basic things. So therefore, if you're a product of your environment, your grandma, your great grandma, your granddad, they live check to check. Most likely, you will.
You will. And they don't even try to change it, and we don't even try to look, and we don't try to seek it.
Yeah.
But that's the problem.
And they want to change. Sometimes they want to, but they just don't know how. And some people feel that it's impossible to, which it is very possible to change and become better.
I feel like I'm trying to step outside this. Oh, you gonna get up in here?
Y'all gonna see when he's 2 times. Gonna get up in here, but anyways, back to me saying
himself on. He ain't even
he's about to get in this. I said he was.
We were talking about this earlier because
I told me to.
I know.
But we not. We were talking about the mouth movements. We were like, that's black, but we're not gonna get into that. Black. But yes, we were talking about we were talking about the Jim Crow laws, and now we're
basically, the reason why we're talking about the timeline is because remember this is in the mid 1860s. So going forward in the 1950s. So this is about probably a 60 to 70 year difference time frame or whatever.
Yes.
That's when you had the Brown versus Board of Education.
1958.
1950. Thurgood Marshall won Sweat versus Painter, in which the Supreme Court ruled that.
Oh, we're gonna get before that. Let's.
Go ahead, because you got the one. So you do the case.
So what I learned that Brown versus Board is actually not one case. It's actually 5 cases that they pushed all together because the white man probably didn't really want y'all to win. So he said, "Oh, y'all two
no, he
talking
couldn't."
about."
But that
they couldn't really rule it. So what happened was they said, "Let's push it all together," because they realized that. All these separate are not working, but these together actually talk about the topic of separate but equal. So they realized they were all fighting the same fight.
And one of the parts that you're going to speak about is in regards to networking. So the school part of the Brown versus Board of Education, when you get to it, is in regards and if you think about it, And when we talk about black people in industry, and when we talk about, people always say it's not what you know, but who you know. We know no one. And it's very difficult.
That's why we try to conform.
Yeah, but it doesn't make a difference because we didn't go to school and we didn't create the industry. We helped build the industry, and the industry was built on our backs, but we didn't create the industry. So we have no one to look to when we need favors or when we need things done. So even though we could go to a school with our counterparts, if we couldn't network with them, what difference did it make?
Right. So here we go. That's how we're going to get into this. So in 1936, there was Murray versus Maryland. Donald Gaines Murray was just qualified as his white counterparts, and he was denied to the University of Maryland School of Law. It was solely based on his race. He sued. He used Thurgood Marshall. So all of these cases are from Thurgood Marshall, and his we'll talk about that later. He sued and won, and they had to admit him. So he graduated 2 years later. So then he became a lawyer. We're telling you all of this so you can get why Brown versus Board came. So now we got Missouri X-Rel Gaines versus Canada. That's 1938. Lloyd Gaines, a graduate from Lincoln University, an all-black college, had applied to the University of Missouri Law, and he was denied because he was black. Now let's think about this. How does that go when you go into the interview? That they say like, "Oh, you're black, you're not admitted."
Well, they won't say it now, but they did in obviously.
Probably then.
I think that's why we have affirmative action right now.
It's a lot of things that got passed because of that. Because we were talking about this earlier. Everything was legal until it's
not legal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'm like, how does that go when you sit in the interview? They're like, you know what? You look good on paper, but you know what? You're black.
Or you send a picture and then you're denied.
Yeah.
Oh.
But
okay.
and that's what kills me because I literally.
But I don't think I'm sorry to cut you off. Someone said about the name. I don't really believe it was so much the name then because even with Malcolm X and as he was stating, our names are based on white people. Most of our surnames are based on our masters. Like Johnson's. The master's last name. But it was more so they could have probably told by your address, and they could have probably told, like I said, if you send a picture.
Address.
No, the address is in your pictures.
They could tell. I don't know how true this is, but some people said they can tell by the social security number.
With the even number at the end.
But
you got an even number.
I heard that too.
I have an even number in mine.
I got an even number.
And I got an even number.
Oh!
You gotta look this up.
I don't.
You don't? You're white?
Other.
You're other.
It's okay because I'm about to get them. I'm about to pull one on. I'm about to get me a one of those tax ID numbers. You will be able to tell
right who I am. So there you go.
I got
Give
you
me that
back.
money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, so you go there. It's like, oh, you're black. No, thank you. So there. So we got Gaines, right? So, I remember Gaines from Different World, Mr. Gaines. But anyways, back to the thing. Their solution. So, okay, he was denied because he was black. So what they said was, we're gonna build you a black school, so you ain't gotta come to our white school. He was like, or you can go to a neighboring state, and we would even pay for it. So listen to this: the white people told him that we would pay for you to go to another school because we just don't want you in our white school. We don't want you here. We want you to go somewhere else, or we'll even build a whole school for you. So all you blacks can go to
how
school.
far the schools was, though.
Yo, it was
from
far.
where they lived.
It wasn't even. He had to go to the next state from Missouri. He couldn't even go within his state. He had to go to the next state. So now he sued them with the help of Thurgood Marshall, and the court sided with him because they said, you know what, the black school did exist in the state, so that's how he got it. Because since it did, they had to be separate but equal. So separate but equal means that there should have been a black school and a white school. If you want to have your white school, you have to have a black school counterpart.
It's supposed to be
and
equal
therefore they had to
the 14th
admit him.
Amendment, but
They had to admit him, and they had to accommodate him, and they couldn't send him to another state because technically that other state was not responsible for him because he was supposed to be able to go to state school in his own state. Now,
when the system fails them.
When the system fails you, we get them back because black people like to put a little spice on everything. So here we go. Now, a little seasoning. Now here we go. We got Sweat versus Painter and McLaurin versus Oklahoma Board of Regents and Higher Education. These are both 1950. That's why I said they're both together. So Sweat versus Painter. Heman Sweat applied to the University of Texas in a white law school. They figured that they wouldn't have to admit him if he was black, if a black school existed. So what they did was, once he applied, they hastily made a black school. They just threw it together with a couple of pieces of paper and a couple of people that like to be teachers, right? They didn't even know who the teachers were. They just put it together and said, let's make this black school. That's like they create a room and just put a bunch of chalkboards in there and say, hey, you blacks, go learn something. So he said, wait a minute.
I doubt they did that.
They probably just made
Probably
a
was
rule.
a black people so
With-
let's go
with
learn
seats that was
something.
probably
And they was
broken.
complaining, so they said, y'all niggas.
Y'all, see, oh, there we
They
go.
said it. They
We
said
done
it. That's
it's
what
the-
they said. I'm Nicole not saying that.
It's the
That's what-
second week. Come on, man. We said
I'm
was
quoting.
That's all right.
Oh, we supposed to, that's why we supposed to throw the paper. So
Yeah,
we're
right.
create Brown versus Board of Education. We're right before we get to Brown versus
Brown
Board.
voice. Okay.
So Brown versus Board of Education, Topeka. Briggs versus Elliott, Davis versus Board of Education of Prince Edward County, that's in Virginia, Boiling versus Sharp, and Gerbert versus Ethel. So these 5 cases were created
Tell them
to put
the
Board versus
trouble that
View.
you had when you were even trying to find the backstory into the cases.
What do you mean? Which
Like
part?
you said, it was just hard to find the information.
Yeah, it's like I find that every time we try to look for things that enlighten black people, that are about black people, is a shortage of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like even I think when my friend and I were looking for a book yesterday, and the book cost $1,000 because the book has not been replicated, but it's so sought after. They want the book. The book is like literally $1,000. I'm like, damn! If the book was only 300
You
pages.
remember the book I was telling you about, the African, the destruction or something like
the destruction of the black man.
No, I
woman.
have that book. The one that was by that doctor, I couldn't pronounce his name.
Yeah.
And we talked about it in the
There was
painting.
how many copies were there?
Okay.
I've been waiting for that copy for months now, since November. I still haven't got a copy of that book.
And the
And all the
crazy
other
part-
ones were sold out.
And the one
it's
I-
a book from the 1970s.
Exactly, and the one I got, they came before us.
Mhm.
About what really happened with Christopher Columbus and how the blacks got here and everything like
Statues with the
that.
wide noses.
Yeah, we came before them. Or I'll create it. I'm sorry.
On Pharaoh.
Yeah, it's like they purposely only create 100 books so you guys can just circulate these 100 books. But if we were together and we were close together, we would share these books like the library. You know, just same concept, but just amongst black people.
Again, it makes sense because it's like it goes back to deleting history and them confusing them, taking their tongues, them not knowing where they come from. So therefore,
She has always said, not to cut you, but we should always learn our own history. Stop looking to
yeah,
people.
that's like how are you going to? And that's the problem I used to have in history and civics class. How are you guys teaching me history from your perspective? Because your history is different from mine. You're teaching me.
But why would they teach you, and not to cut you off,
Right.
but, and I have a problem with this. Why would they teach you your history? You did not create this world. Europeans came to America to create America.
Mm-hmm.
Europeans brought slaves over to help them create Americas and killed Indians to make sure they had America. It is up to you to teach you your stuff. You can, my father made a statement to me. We were talking about why didn't black people pass on slavery to other blacks, and he told me his thing was, he was born again and during the time of the 30s and the 40s, so he was that, he was segregated, and he said that his grandmother used to speak in code. So I said to him, well, what do you mean? What do you mean speaking code? He said, they just speak in code. She would tell me things like, manners will get you places where money wouldn't get you, and you got to be careful in the street with them people. I said, well, when did the code stop, and when did they just come out and just tell
you? The house talking?
Right, he was like, you don't understand. They were afraid. He said you couldn't look white people in the eye, and they were from Charleston, South Carolina. He said you couldn't even look at a white dress that was hanging on a line because that's like looking at a white woman. He said that he was a little bit, he was kind of, he didn't listen like he was supposed to listen. And he said he went to white fountains to see if that water tasted different from the black fountains. He said that tasted the same, and he looked in white bathrooms to see if they had different stalls or whatever, and that was the same.
But
so he didn't understand.
Black, I'm about to say something. Look,
Lord,
I don't want to get in trouble.
Say that.
I'm not a racist, but I don't know why they didn't want to use black bathrooms because black people be very, very OCD clean.
Yeah, we was cleaning the White House and we was cleaning the master's house.
I'm not trying to be funny, but like black people, and also I think the reason why black people strive so hard to be clean is because of stereotypes that we feel that other races have against us. Like, I remember.
But the only ones that's on hoarders is white people. If you really look at my show, I love that show.
That show disgusts me.
Always gotta take it.
That show disgusts me in a special way. But at the end of the day, it's like, black people, like, I don't understand how you could deem somebody to be so filthy and so dirty when you had them cooking your food.
Cooking your
and
food.
Cleaning your house.
Feeding your kid with their teeth.
Taking care of your kids.
Hello.
How could that be
Breastfeeding
dirty?
a baby.
Breastfeeding your baby. They done had their baby, can't breastfeed their baby.
They
They're breastfeeding
segregated
your
blood.
baby.
How could you
segregated
equate
blood
that?
banks, but
And
not
it's like, I'm like,
breastfeeding.
you're trying to segregate people that work extra hard to be
For you.
clean. That's why we dress up. That's why we wear jewelry. That's why the girls do their hair. Guys get their hair cut. Like, what other cultures getting their hair cut and
so
done
many
every
times.
week?
Every other week, they in the
Every
in the
week.
barbershop.
We doing it when we can't even afford it.
Yo, that's the last $10 you go get that shape up.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
$10.
And I never.
Wait,
Hold
so
on.
my
son's only
Yeah.
$10.
$10.
Before
Try. Let's add another 40.
Oh,
$50 to $60 now for haircuts.
what?
well, that's why your shape up looks so good.
Listen.
He always looks so.
$40,
We always look so
$50.
good. But we,
So I just want.
Thank
So
you,
we're
Jesus.
we're gonna get into that dialogue. I just wanted to finish up of why we're talking about
Brown versus
versus
Board.
Board of
Yes.
Education, because that was like the precedence, I guess, for integration.
Yes.
So in making the case in Brown, Thurgood Marshall, he drew upon the research of two psychologists, Kenneth and Mamie Clark, to argue the very fact that black and white children, and this may address some of the things this is going to sound real familiar. So black and white children were sent to separate schools, and allegedly it damaged the black children's self-esteem. It stigmatized them and adversely shaped their self-image for the rest of their lives.
okay.
Separate schools, Marshall argued, made plain to black children that they were deemed unworthy of being educated in the same classrooms as white children. School segregation reinformed notions of difference and inequality associated with race, prejudice, and racism.
That's why they don't like Thurgood Marshall.
And I can attest
That
to
makes
that.
sense.
I could.
Who don't like him, white or black people?
That's why, when
I
you
know
think
black
about
people
that,
don't
my
like
bad to
him.
cut you off, but when you say it like that, when we thought that if we now think that black is so beautiful, how the hell we can really think that by that part with integration makes black look more beautiful by being with white?
It's because of the European influence over the beauty world and the way everything is dictated. When you turn on the commercials, Revlon, it's a blonde, blue eyes. When you see magazines, you see these super skinny, super like, yeah, listen, we ain't gonna get into that.
Producer saying
Because this is my nigga. Jesus.
Damn, when is it? February.
Sorry, I'm sorry, everybody.
Damn, second week.
But the thing about it is, and we could get into that too, because I actually like that, because I could break that down too. But like inclusion, like the coolest part that by going to like these, I guess what the world would deem as second and third world countries, which are also minority run countries. What I love about it is that
I'm glad
the
that you
inclusion.
said it like that, the minority.
Yeah. Because every minority country is a third world country.
But
It's
not none of their places where the ghettos are already originated from. But
I'm
our
like,
countries
listen, I could and the reason, and that's like a little secret thing of mine. When I'm traveling, I want to see if I could live in another place, because a lot of blacks and a lot of people in America are deemed to think that there's no life outside of the U.S. and that this is the greatest country, and after that,
Or New
everybody
York,
else is just suffering. But that is a bolt blade lie. It's all lies. God, they lie. It's lies. Because outside of this country, there are people that are happy, they're thriving, they have health insurance, they have health care, they can eat off the land. Like, they like, even this whole thing with how they're doing away with seeds and vegetation and how they're governing and everything that we're eating is GMOs created in a lab. Do you think that's healthy for us?
Right.
It's not. In these
And that's
other
in
countries,
America.
they have fruits and vegetables that we're not even allowed to eat. It's banned in America because of what it does.
You can't even bring them mangoes from Jamaica.
And you know what's
You
funny?
can't bring soursop.
Soursop is anti-cancerous because that's why they don't want you to drink no soursop because
it kills cancer. But
My family still sneak up.
I like soursop.
listen,
I
I
love you
got
got
some seeds
soursop.
myself. So at the end of the day, like, a lot of, and that's true because I went to an all-white school. But I went when I lived in New Jersey. It was like I guess it was an urban school. We had a lot of different cultures represented, but it was mainly, I guess, hood school, pretty much. And it was bad, like peeling off the ceilings. Sometimes we didn't have heat. In the summer when we got hot,
That's
we'd
the
be in there
same thing
burning
they was
up.
experiencing. That's why they wanted that integration,
That's
because
separate
some of
but equal,
the
but then
some of the
they want
schools didn't have
integration.
bathrooms, some of them didn't
Yeah,
have
I might-
running water, cafeterias,
And
they
then
were
like the
basement.
books are outdated. They're teaching old
And
technology.
he's talking about something that's recent. I'm talking
That's
about
recent.
something from the 1960s.
right. This is in my
But
lifetime.
whose fault was that?
It's
Us, because we ain't create our own, and I have some questions for
Correct.
But
dialogue
also,
later.
it's our fault, but it's still systematic racism because these budgets that are given out to these school systems, then it's like the school I went to, because it's like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that book, when my urban school, but when I went to the white school in high school, it was a different experience. They were serious, like, oh, we don't have the money, Bill, let's go to the PTA. Let's donate this money from our personal bank accounts back into the school. So therefore,
They took ownership.
right, where the budget's cut short, the parents gave.
That's what we do at my son's
right,
school too.
right.
Yeah,
and at
we
the
do
end of the
that.
day,
Yep.
so therefore, when I was sick, I remember,
And that's like the taxes in Westchester and Scarsdale and Hartsdale. The property taxes and the school taxes are much higher than in the city. And they pay for what they want their children to learn. So, I understand that you expect for the government or your government to do a certain extent. And that goes back to even what happened with Hurricane Katrina when they were waiting for the government to come in there and save them. But at the end of the day, how can you expect
you can't.
your captor
To save
you?
And the thing about it is, really, they probably like drown all of them.
Yep,
You know what I'm
and it's
saying?
a good,
And it's-
good land, real estate.
Yeah.
They'll all be gone. They probably own the land. The deed will be
Then
gone, and
after
nobody
we
will come
drown
and
them
fight
off,
it.
we
can
drown
get
them
it.
off. They lose their homes because they can't
Like
afford
Puerto
it.
Rico.
Then what we do, we come in and we gentrify, and
Yeah.
then we come in and we build, blah blah blah,
like
da
that.
da da, and now we can start over because we own
They're buying
everything
land
again.
in Puerto Rico right now. People are going down there and buying land because a lot of people abandoned their places after the Hurricane Maria, and now they're going in there because they're like, oh, they might as well get a place now that nobody's there. They're like, okay, this will work out. All you Puerto Ricans want to move to the States. It's like, come on, you
Right.
gotta get,
All right, so
get
I
together,
have a few
guys.
questions for you guys.
Got some questions?
Yeah. I have
About
answers.
segregation. You got a few answers. Segregation versus integration.
Okay,
Okay.
So
this
what?
is gonna be crazy. I can feel it.
This is
No,
gonna
no,
get
no.
heated.
Real life stuff. Real life
ahead.
shit. It's just up to
Okay.
y'all if y'all gonna
Okay.
get heavy. Okay. So my first question is: was separate but equal actually a detriment to us? How did segregation, and these are along the context of
Okay.
what I want you to talk about. So, how did segregation actually harm us physically and mentally? Belief that it may have had more of a mental impact, but it was also physically just as bad.
For me, like I said, when I went to the school in New Jersey versus the school in North Carolina, there would be I didn't really know what racism was. We heard about it our whole life, but to experience it is different. I remember my first true encounter with racism. It was like 30 white kids to 3 black kids in the
What
class. This was probably around 13, 14. And I was in the class, and I never forget, it was social studies. And we were in the social studies, and we had to read these papers, and this guy got up named Jesse. I never forget his name. Jesse, blonde hair, blue eyes. And he was definitely before the Confederate. So he got up and he read his paper, and he was like, black people are a whole bunch of drug dealers and drug pushers, and he don't believe slavery was a bad idea, and that they should get over themselves in the class. Clapped.
Oh, the class clapped because the
And-
class was white, and you
yeah,
3 guys.
all 3 of us are looking. And Ozma Jones, I don't know where you are in life, but I will never forget your name. She was from Brooklyn. And Ozma Jones was a black girl who was smart as I don't know what. She knew her stuff inside out, but she was hood. But she was very, very articulate.
I love
And
educated
very,
hood.
very, very, very smart. The way that she gathered him, it just was. It was.
She collected
It was. It was in a way that was so articulate that we could have easily get up and I would have swept him across the floor. You know,
Right,
that's what
just
I like
dragged
to do
him,
personally.
literally.
But at the end of the day, the way she hit him with artifacts and the way she hit him with just knowledge, she pinned him into a corner, and it was so powerful. That was the first time I experienced it. So, yeah, we didn't have books, we didn't have heat, but at this school we had heat books. But
What did it do for you?
it showed me what racism was. It showed me that most people believe that black people are second-grade citizens. It also made me not go to a HBCU because I was taught at that school that second-grade education. Versus now, as an adult, all those HBCU grads are running departments, so presidents. They're at Viacom. They're business owners. They're curators. They're the culture leaders. And they finished school
Yeah, they
because they
finished
went to
school.
school amongst people
DJ
who
Envy.
knew better.
Yup.
if I would have went to Hillside instead
It's
of
crazy
Jordan.
that they told you that.
Yeah,
that was
but-
They
the
do.
second
Oh,
class.
of course.
I never heard that.
That's-
Oh,
growing up.
yeah.
But
Don't go
went
to
to school in North
HBCUs,
Carolina.
yeah?
I went
Oh,
to
yeah,
school in
he
North-
gives
I
down
went to
to
school in
yeah.
North Carolina. And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
there was some cool white people down there, like some people that I still rock with. They were for the cause. They were just good
Right.
human beings. They
Right.
were just because like I don't believe that all white people are racist. Like I
No,
don't
we
believe.
don't- we don't-
I,
we don't
I don't
that.
believe that. I
Yeah.
believe that God created a lot of people, but there are a few people who want
Mess it
to
up.
keep this idea of a pure race, and that's what racism is about. Because once anything mixes with the black culture, is no longer white.
Who they Hitler?
But
According to Hitler, he ain't like them either. But
He got some nerve with
Look
his,
at him.
Hitler was
with his
just
Jewish show.
Hitler was just upset at himself. I
He
think
has
he
own
had
issues.
mental issues.
Yeah.
And he
That's
just
another topic.
yeah.
for
But
another day.
for me, going to the black school, there was a sense of community, a sense of like the lunch ladies. You didn't have lunch money; they looked out for you. They watched out for you. You know, you did something wrong. They talking
that's
to
how
your
it was
parents.
supposed to be. A
They
community.
they sitting down to you, making sure like, hey, da da da. You know, he can't do math. It's gonna be a little ignorant and a little mean.
Right.
You know, your son can't count. You know, your son can't read. But at the end of the day, your mom versus in our school, the other school was like, okay, they didn't pass standardized testing. Let's put them in special ed. Versus
Yeah.
there are people who learn at different rates and don't go to that school. Or I was told by my guidance counselor that black people shouldn't do honors and AP credits because we weren't smart enough and that we weren't going to go to
I was
college.
in honors classes. Sorry, guys.
But you know what that made all of us do? We went to every enriched class, every honors class, because they were sick of us in there. Because at the end of the day,
That's true.
we were battling for GPAs. We wanted to make sure that,
You are the same.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
and the Thurgood Marshall thing with the self-esteem and the confidence is true. Because it starts making you think, what's so bad about being black?
Right.
You know, 'cause
That's
like, you know,
segregation.
yeah,
and that's the harm.
but the thing
That's the
about it is,
harm.
I have a niece right now in North Carolina who's biracial, who's going through it right now in ballet. She's in ballet, and the kids don't want to play with her and dance with her because they know that she's black and white. And to tell you the truth, she's more beautiful than all of them in there. I'm not just being biased. I'm not being biased because she's my niece, but she's more beautiful than all of them. But at the end of the day, she's in school and at 5 years old knows what racism is.
That's sad. You know, I mean, you said how did desegregation or desegregation?
No, she said how does segregation harm us?
Well,
Segregation.
How did segregation harm us?
Yes.
Was it so? Basically, I'm being sarcastic. Was it an actual?
No,
harm
well, it
to
did
us?
harm. It harmed us, like he said earlier,
Just for that part, but
mentally.
mentally because it made you feel inferior, and it made you.
if you're very
It made you feel like you were less than. That's the only harm, and that harm is even now we're looking at that harm with the people today, but in the sense of if separate but equal was separate but equal, it would have been okay.
Right.
I don't think we would have ever looked at ourselves as
Right,
less than.
but because
We had no
separate but
chance
equal
to.
wasn't okay, and let me just say one thing. Segregation was promoted through religion.
We can't never.
And-
forget
I know where you're going. Go ahead. I like
right
this.
now,
White people, the European people, use scriptures to tell black people that they were less than, and that they had to accept their fate as being less than. So not only did white people consider them bad, but their own God that they
created.
worshipped, and Jesus that didn't look like them, that they put the picture up there that they created, considered them to be nothing. So it wasn't only about separation or segregation in regards to, I think you're less than. God has put you here to be
God.
slaves,
Right.
and you have to follow the Bible. And this is another part. This is another thing that I don't accept, because even those, that's why I said the pastors and even the religion that people followed, that they used to follow, the same things are going on today, because you have your pastors, you have your religious leaders promoting the same type of speech that the white people promoted to keep you down. So in the sense, that made you feel less than. How can you feel more than?
I like this. I like where you're going with this. So let me insert to this because I am a Bible thumper, low key. I got Jesus tatted on my hand. Let me go to that. Let's break it down, okay? So bear with me, people, because a lot of people are going to be ruffled. Feathers will be ruffled in this. I grew up in a religious home where Jesus is the forefront. He's still the runner of my life. And Jesus, to me, is not the Jesus that they're teaching you guys. So let's break down religion and where it comes from. For the sake, let's start right here. No religion was born or created in any continent outside of Africa. No religion comes from Europe. None. No religion comes from Europe. Whether it's Islam, whether it's Christianity, whether you're like voodoo or the arts or all of it.
Santa Maria?
All
That
of it.
also goes from
Santa Maria,
Maria,
which
but
is
yes.
it's a version
Yes.
of a
Voodoo.
religion that comes from
No,
what?
it's not voodoo.
No,
It's
it's not
another
voodoo.
one. It's I forgot what it's called.
It's in that realm, but
Dang,
it's
yeah.
all of
Similar
it.
to voodoo.
All of it comes from Africa.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's similar to voodoo.
The story of Jesus, or his name Yeshua, which is his name. We call him Jesus in English because there was no J at the time that the Bible was written. It rolls over to the next letter. The next letter was J. So Jesus or Yeshua.
Okay.
Yeshua is his Hebrew name. When he dwelt around the time he walked the earth, he was able to hide because there was a hideout for firstborn children. And this is not just a biblical story. This is just a history lesson. There was for firstborn children because there was a prophecy or a prediction that somebody was going to come and become a king. No king wants somebody outside of royal bloodline coming up trying to challenge the kingdom. So he wanted to kill all firstborns. Where did he go hide? He hid in Africa. Ethnicity, as we know today, which is a made-up word, which is also racist because it comes from a racist author who had racist ideals. If we even break down the characteristics of what makes ethnicity, Negroid, which is what? A nigga,
Yeah.
black person. All those little characteristics are racist. Jesus hid in Africa. During these times, you could not dwell with a tribe, or as we call it, a group of people like us. We are a tribe, whether we realize it or not. We hang out together because all of us are different shades, but we are still the same. We identify together. You cannot hang out with a tribe that you do not belong to or could blend in with. So what kind of man could hang out in Africa unless he was African or looked African? You know how weird that would be? A blonde-haired, blue-eyed man with all these niggas. That ain't gonna work. That would not work.
That ain't it.
The only reason why and thank God again for this here, I keep it with me at all times because this here right here was my ticket around the world, this passport. Because in this passport, I've learned so much about religion. I went to Notre Dame before it was burnt down, that old church in Paris. And then this old church has relics that are older than God knows how long, of the original depictions of the Madonna, the Mary, of Jesus. And I have videos in my phone of black figurines. Every figure in that original depiction before Michelangelo drew the Sixtine Chapel, all that, those people were black with froze. I have videos of people of melanin.
Yeah.
Right? So when we start talking about the Jesus and the Moses and Abraham and all these people,
And how they
even
think Christianity
even
will
people
mess
that
with
we
us.
know to be as Jewish today are not the real Jews. They're not. They're not. When we go into prophecies of who were the original slaves and how people will be enslaved and they will be enslaved again, that wasn't talking about those. Those people are from Turkey. That after Hitler and after World War II were misplaced. After the Holocaust, rather, they were misplaced. So they sent them back to Israel. Those were the real Jews. The real Jews were black. The prophecy about how black people will be enslaved. People, they will be slaves. And then they would go, they'd be free and they'd be going slaves again. He was talking about black people. They were slaves then. You know what I'm saying? Moses, his wife, Sarah, what was she? She was a Cushite. Who are Cushite people? Later known as Moors. Moors is another word for black. Because we were Moors before they called us Negro, before we were African American, before they called us niggas. Jesus,
That very same
depiction,
Christianity and
right,
all that stuff.
the
Yep.
depictions of Jesus, even the way they describe him in the scrolls and the Bible, as a man whose feet was burned. He had woolly hair.
But y'all use that Christianity.
What is this? You know what I'm saying? So what they did was, and this is why people don't believe in modern day religion and why you have to research and know for yourself. My relationship with God is not because of what somebody told me in the book. It's through prayer and through signs and wonders and knowing that God listens to me, because I could care less what they taught me. You know what I'm saying? But I know for a fact that Jesus is a nigga, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but Jesus is a person that, see, we had to, black people are very creative, so you can't get offended when we use the word nigga, because it was a word that they used to kill and keep us down, but we took it and flipped it and we added swag to it, so now it's a dope thing.
It's not.
I'm telling you.
We talked about the first. Listen to me. We're just gonna go back to 1 second because he wasn't here for our first episode.
The challenge was you guys not to say the word nigger.
And the reason being, I understand this, but the reason being, as long as we can't say spick and kike and we can't say greaseball, we're gonna refrain from calling.
What you were saying was actually a good point, because the most segregated day of the week is Sunday morning. So think about it. Sunday morning we all go to church, but we never go to the same churches. If you really realize that, there's white churches, and how many black people were in there?
It was a sprinkle.
Like when
you know why I went to the white people church?
It's like, chocolate chip vanilla ice cream. Couple of chocolate chips and it's all this vanilla ice cream.
I like going to the white people church because the black people church was
It's too damn long.
But you know why that is.
But you know why that is. I want to go home. Why you going to watch football?
Didn't they say you're supposed to have a certain amount of hours?
No. All right, let's break that down.
Wait, we can't go too far off, but you can say,
black people have church so long because during slavery, the only time they had amongst each other was during church.
That's why they were supposed to be doing things together. The church is not supposed to be about that reverend taking your money. The church is supposed to, for you to come together as a people and plot. Now, that was part of the codes that my father was talking about also. It was supposed to be a place where you could come together and make your plots and plans. It probably was a place that Harriet Tubman was helping some of them slaves get to another underground railroad and using the fact that we're praising God. But we are so retarded that we've taken it to another level. It's not to be...
And then you allow these people, like you said, let's get on that, with if you go to a church where they are getting more from you than you get, then you're in the wrong church. So at the end of the day, let's be honest. Because I have, my parents are religious and my parents are pastors. But my dad, my story is, he always gave more than we got.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he was giving to this, giving to that. But then I do know pastors who drive around in Bentley coupes. But at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with a pastor being in a Bentley coupe as long as the congregation
everybody else
is
can
good.
be able to,
you know what I'm saying?
To come up.
Now, if they keep asking you for money, what I don't understand is a building fund that's 20 years. They had this building fund 20 years old and they still in the same building. Same beat down equipment. Where's that building fund going?
Can't even get a new piano.
But then,
raising money for
there are some organizations who really take care of the community, because a lot of people don't understand that black people got through the civil rights movement through churches.
That's a good cut.
You know what? Let me tell you something. That was so if y'all saw us on YouTube, I dropped the glass, and you know how they say I'm gonna say that was black magic, the grip magic. Like we're like, yo, that thing during Black History Month, it just bounced and it didn't break.
She's got another question.
All right, so basically about the whole separation but equal thing. So as far as integration, it did have crippling effects on us.
You said the
Tulsa stuff?
No, the next question.
So it's pretty much just a train of thought adding on to the question.
Okay.
But you could take it as a question in itself. I can ask it like this. So did integration, do you think it had an effect? And before you answer it, I have a point on industry. But I have something to add on industry. But as far as integration, it had crippling effects. Do you think it had any effect on, and I have other topics. So after you finish answering this, come back to me so I could re-ask the question. But the first one is industry. Now, all right, so I just want to throw, because a lot of people ask, why don't we talk about Black Wall Street? So if you guys don't know, in Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 1920s, that's what they coined as the Black Wall Street. It is important to note that the destruction of this very affluent and predominantly black city was the site of a violent massacre in 1921, years before Brown versus Board of Education in the 1950s. So I just feel like personally it just proves like when blacks do try to do something for themselves, like be prosperous, sometimes they are blocked with like a lot of vitriol and hate and jealousy from other people, because those people went to the community and burnt the area down. But this is not as far as like integration, because this is way before. This is before the Great Depression. But as far as a sense of industry, which we did have Tulsa, Oklahoma as one of the examples, do you feel like integration had a crippling effect on our industry?
Well, first,
that
before
time
you
frame.
say the integration, I think that segregation first, and then I'll answer the second part.
Yes.
Segregation forced us to create and take ownership and responsibility for ourselves.
I agree.
And integration let us off the hook.
Oof. That's a good point.
It let us off the hook.
Point. You have a good point.
You know, when you really think about that, you know.
You got a good point.
Because you know, when I tell people, we talked about this in the last episode when we talked about Malcolm versus Martin, well, before the conformity, so the episode before that, I said, you know, I always tell people to be entrepreneurs. And they're like, oh, that's not for me. I tell them to go to college. Oh, that's not for me. I said, you know what's funny?
So what is for you?
What is for you?
What is for you?
You know,
welfare, food stamps?
Yeah.
Is that for you?
What
You're
is
going up
for
there and
you?
degrading yourself and them asking all your personal business and
Yeah.
putting it on the line. Now, ain't nothing wrong when you have to use
No,
it. Because
use it.
I've been there. But at the end of
Use
the
it
day,
for what you're supposed to use it for.
that's not a part of your 5-year plan.
Right. The 5-year plan, the first year supposed to be welfare, but not the second year, third year, fifth year.
No, but that's
the
important.
first
When you
year.
said, listen, that word PLAN, plan, what we blacks don't do.
You don't plan, because y'all stopped playing it in church, because y'all said, we can't talk about that stuff no more. And then when you tell
Because
somebody
they'll
what
tell
you
you,
do,
if you
they
make
say, oh,
plans,
this other time.
God will,
Black people
what's
say
the
that.
black thing?
Black people
And I
say,
say that, and I
God
thought it was
will
a
laugh at you when you make
No,
plans.
it's the saying.
That's not true.
That's
No,
the
dumbest
stupidest
thing.
thing.
So we always say that. As
Black
people.
people.
We say, what man plans, God wipes.
Who says that?
Oh, he said God laughs. I said, damn, God got time to be laughing at me and not
No.
saying, damn, look at my
Well,
sister
we're
trying to
getting
get
a
it
little bit
together.
off topic. As far as industry, what did you have to say, incognito?
No, she just started the she just started
No,
the
just the last one. Integration caused a loss of identity. And a
Yes,
loss
that
of
too. That was my next
black
question.
business and a loss of self-worth.
Yes.
I think that as being segregated, we were forced to look at ourselves. And when we integrated, we were forced to assimilate.
Right.
And
So,
when I get to the words of
conform.
when I get to the words of wisdom, I'll go a little bit deeper. But self-hatred
Right.
was a result of integration.
I agree.
Self-hatred.
As far as identity,
Self-hatred. Self-hatred.
And then
All right. Oh, sorry.
That's true. I like that because I like discussion because I think people should talk. Everybody should talk. That's true because also with like if we had more like black doctors, more black dentists, and more black scientists and things like that, it would definitely help us. A lot like I read something that was very disturbing about Planned Parenthood. One of the
it was
founders.
created to kill blacks.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
to annihilate
The black race.
the
Yeah.
black
And
race.
she's,
Yeah.
I think she's still
What
alive.
Planned Parenthood
Yeah.
was designed
Yeah.
to do.
To annihilate it. For all
They
you guys get
planned.
abortions. And I'm not saying
They
I'm
planned.
anti-abortion.
And
See, that's another thing. Like
What do
you
you
just
always
said.
say? You said they plan
They
and plot.
plan
we
and
never.
plot, and we sitting there talking about if we plan, God gonna laugh. They are planning while
So
we are
annihilate
talking.
you.
I'm gonna tell you,
Everything is a
whoever said
systematic
that
plan.
whoever said that was ridiculous. Because first
What?
of all, if you go back
They
to
said that part, it's
the
ridiculous.
the scriptures pretty much says faith without works is dead. So it's
Right.
you can have faith. Lord, I know you're gonna do
Lord,
it.
you gonna help me,
Lord,
God,
But at the end
help
of the day,
me,
you gonna be
God.
praying, but God like.
What
can
the
pray
hell
all
are
you
you
want, but you need to
doing?
be working. Because, you need to be putting some effort into it.
Yeah,
'Cause
what
I'm
are
not
you
going to do everything.
doing?
I'll bless you when you go out, but you got to go out.
I'll
You just have to put
guide
your
you
work
and
in.
I'll be there
Hello.
for you.
Right.
And the story is, and I'll say it real fast. And and I'm not gonna say I'll make it real fast. Lady standing there, the news comes on. There's a flood watch. You got to get out of here. So the first guy knocks on the door. Hey, lady, let's go. She says, oh no, God's gonna come help me out. I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna help my house. The water starts to build up. Now the water's at a certain level, and you can't just walk out. You got to get a boat. So the boat comes. Hey, on the bullhorn, come on. God is. And the lady says, no, I'm not getting on that boat. God is gonna find a way for me, so I'm gonna stay with my house. At this point, she goes to the roof because the water's reached the roof. The helicopter comes. Hey, grab this. You gotta go. God got a plan for me. She dies. She goes to heaven. God, why didn't you help me? I sent 3 people for you.
Mm.
We can't sit there and wait. We supposed to do.
Yeah.
You sit there with that stupidness that I don't know what. Maybe that was a black code. You can't plan. Maybe they would say you can't let them know your plan.
Right.
Yeah.
because
That's
they don't
why they
even
were talking
plan.
about
Now,
those
you
people.
plan, but you don't let them know.
Right,
plan.
you just plan
definitely
in
gotta plan.
silence.
Well, we need to wrap this up because we're
Okay.
short on time. So I do have a few more questions, and then I'm going to take us out. So I just want you guys to think on this. You can answer, interject as you feel.
Okay.
Just don't make it too long. But
Okay.
as far as sense of community, did we ever really have a community when we were forced to live amongst each other? Because remember, they like to call us crabs in a barrel, and a lot of black people do have that crabs in a barrel mentality.
Oh, I got that one.
Okay.
I got that one because my family actually lived in the same building. So if you listen to Dapper Dan's book, he actually talked about this too, where when black people came from the south to the north, when they had to make the Great Migration, we all lived in the same community where the people we came from. So Virginia lived on one block, South Carolina lived on one block, Louisiana lived on another block, and we had our own sense of community. But what happened was, you know why they messed up our community? When they started building projects, tall buildings and all these other things, and they pushed us out because these projects are new. Dapper Dan, he's only 70-something years old. He watched those projects be erected. They literally knocked down the tenements that he lived in to erect these buildings that actually became the worst part of their society. So, just so you know, that kind of messed it up for all of us because what they did was, that's the crabs in the barrel. They put us on top of each other. And then we created all these other crazy things that didn't make us up. You think about that. We got these 16 high-rises and it ain't luxury. The only luxury you see is the other places.
But it's back to the way
luxury.
they separated the races when they brought the Africans over here and they mixed them up. So could you imagine living in a building with 100 different people that you have no? And you know, people used to always speak about tenements. Yeah, you used to speak about people used to speak about tenements because I grew up in a tenement, and everybody used to tenements are there. And then you thought about it. There was only 25 families. There was just a building. There was only 25 families in my tenement. Why would I want to live in a tenement with 1,000? Family. How? And I don't even know where you came from, and you coming from different places, and we don't even agree. Our cultures are different. Everything's different. So
I put my music loud on
sense.
Saturday. You want to call the cops? Ain't nobody got time for
All right,
that.
go. So guys, creativity. How did the integration allow us to think outside the box? No, not integration, but segregation. Like, I have an example. Charlotte Hawkins Brown, the first black woman to create an all-black school in North Carolina. Obviously, she was forced to create it. So, I feel like creativity, segregation allowed us. Yeah, it made us. And, like you said, integration, it kind of just allowed us to just,
crippling.
Well, let's say, so the good part about segregation is, if we go back to that, because all of these questions seem like they overlap, right? The good part, the bad part was that we lost identity. So that's been established. I think that's definitely a valid point. And I think that that's something that was very necessary for people who are the lost tribes of the world. Black Americans is a lost tribe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But they call us ADOS now. You heard that term, right? ADOS, the American descendants of slaves. Oh. That's the thing that black people are coining themselves.
I kind of like that.
I like that.
I like that.
Say it again.
Boy, ADOS.
You like it?
Yeah, because I don't like African Americans because we're not. I can't go back to. I can't align myself with any place in Africa. And you know, people can say Italian Americans.
Do you trust
they can go back, right? And I don't trust them. But what do you say that one again?
American
ADOS.
Descendants of Slaves.
What?
ADOS. It is an acronym. ADOS.
ADOS. I don't like. It sounds like Adolf, but that's another story.
That's okay.
No, it's ADOS. It ain't ADOS.
Okay.
I like that, but the good part was, the bad part is that we lost identity and we lost the ability. But to the flip side of that, why we have to segregate is we live in a world with other people and we have to learn how to maneuver. If you're around only
so that's why you say you have to integrate?
That's why we have to, because if we only learn the black way...
community, we're saying that might be a...
Go on with your point.
But listen, so with that, right? So if we're segregated, because black people always going to, for the most part, see eye to eye on ideals, because we are all raised in a certain way by grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunts, who have these ideals. That's the black culture as we know it. However, in this society of the America or the world, how it's built, it's not just built off of one corner or one leg with one group of people. It's a lot of people. So the reason why we have to integrate, because we have to learn the white thought process.
But not with the community. You're talking about with other parts. Not where I live at.
Well, but even where you live, other stuff. Because sometimes if you go into a white neighborhood, I like how they did that house.
Oh, so I'm
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I like this architecture. I like how they're running IBM.
Like you said, copy and paste.
When you're in these boardrooms and you having
copy and paste.
Right.
But you know what? Let me say. I get what you're saying, but the problem I have with you saying, I believe that they stole everything from other races. So I I get you that we need to
look at them,
look at them, and we need to be able to work with them.
Listen, they're looking to us. And as you can say, like with all of those examples with those patents and things that were taken, so they're definitely learning from black people. Turn on the commercials.
Culture,
Hip hop,
sports, all of that.
Hip hop is right. Is hip hop culture is the #1 lead marketer of the world. Everything is
and it ain't
marketed.
owned by us, you know that, right?
It's not. But look, they looked at us and learned. How do we get this black dollar and how do we keep it? So they look and study black people. We're gonna put the Cardi B on this commercial on Pepsi. We're gonna we're gonna put Beyonce right here. We're gonna let her do her thing right there. We're gonna put Dwayne Wade. We all these places, all these figures,
Come on, guys.
and we're gonna use that where they feel like it's relatable, and we're gonna still get their money. Versus if we're in that boardroom, if we're in the boardroom with them, listen to how they do things. Okay, I like to see how that marketing structure.
And
works.
let's fix our
let's
stuff.
fix that, and let's go and learn from this and adjust it to us.
And make
because
a black
if we're only
podcast.
in our corner, because we're only in our corner, we can never learn what everybody else is doing and progress.
Yes.
Because then we're just stagnant. We're just black. It's just black. But to grow, you gotta learn. Oh, why are the Asians doing this? Because they have you. If you, God, I went to Jamaica and I was like, okay. I need to find some black products because, like, you know, I need stuff where I get my hair cut. My mom needs stuff because, you know, after 2 days with the humidity, black girl hair don't work. So at the end of the day, we're in there, and when I go find the beauty parlors or the beauty supply stores, guess what? They're Asian.
They're Asian.
In Jamaica.
In Jamaica.
So then I go to
Africa.
Still messes me up, the Asian
Right.
talk in Jamaica.
I go
You know
to
why?
London.
You know, because they're over there buying up stuff because the Jamaican people needed a lot of money
She's
for
Jamaican.
things like
Right.
funding
This
the
is our resident
highway.
Jamaican.
Right, but
So
still,
no, but they letting them
Right.
come over there and give them
Yeah.
the money, and they're saying, "Oh well, y'all don't got to pay me back. Let me build this highway over here." So now they over there buying stuff. But we kind of need to wrap this up, so I don't want to
Okay,
be rude
let's
and cut
go
you
ahead.
off.
Go
But
ahead.
my last thing I wanted to address is as far as the independence. So we were forced to depend on ourselves for the most part. We become lazy once we no longer had to.
That's why we on CP time. We already lazy. We already started.
Yeah.
We came
White
lazy.
America provided everything,
Lackluster.
including black businesses that did not contribute to our own communities.
We
Back
messed
in this
up.
19,
We don't have any respect for ourselves.
Only thing we
The
generate
sad
is sweat.
part about it, and that's why he, I guess made that statement. You know, we talk about it all the time. Why we always late for ourselves.
We show
We're never late
ourselves.
for them, but we're already. And when I say them, I mean any other industry, because you can work for any industry in the world. I'm not. This is not even a white and black thing when it comes to that part.
Right.
But we're always late for ourselves, and that's why we're a day late and a dollar short, because we're always late for ourselves.
Exactly.
You know, you can just think about it, and you know, anybody listening to us, you think about how many times you've really been late to work. You think about how many times you've been late to a doctor's appointment. Go ahead.
And that's because
I don't respect my
most
job.
most of us, when we do, or when we are late, we don't see the consequence in that.
Right.
But the not seeing the consequence is because we don't see the benefit. That is not seeing the being on time, being punctual, being those things. There's a lot of benefits in that. But you don't see that benefit,
Do the
which
rest
is
of
the
the
consequence, but because you don't think you get an actual physical consequence, like, oh, it's 5 minutes late, nothing happened. Oh, it's 20 minutes late, nothing happened.
Because that
It was
CPT
fine.
time
Everybody's
only
fine
works
with it.
when we're doing things with each other. That CPT thing does not work when we're on that plantation. Because I know so many
The
people
consequences
are
you
fired.
lose, but-
You'll be
and-
fired.
Yeah, but in our world,
Or
of
get a
not,
tongue
there's
lashing.
There's no particular consequence.
Well,
Therefore,
there's a consequence. You lose. You might.
But we
lose
don't.
something.
But like you just
No.
said, we don't even see what we lose.
Right.
And by the
We
time
don't
we even
see it.
realize that
It's
we've lost, it's
We've
too
already
freaking
lost
late,
it.
and
It's
we've
too late.
already lost
It's
it.
too gone.
So
It's
to
too
time
far
All right,
gone.
guys. So I just want each and one of us to finish a sentence. I'm just going to start the sentence and you finish it. And then after that, we're going to close out with the words of wisdom.
All right
So
now.
segregation made you have to. Integration allowed you to not.
So segregation made you.
It's two sentences.
No, just say the first sentence first.
So segregation made you have to.
Create my own.
Segregation made you have to.
Segregation made me have to, I guess, study more.
Segregation made you have to think outside the box.
I wasn't
So
here for the whole
goofy.
episode, but I'm gonna come up. Segregation.
Think
I
in
guess
terms of the
maybe-
1950s. What did segregation make them have to do?
Oh, them have to do it.
Right.
Yeah, those people.
Not
Right
now.
more.
Not now.
Oh, understand their value.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Next part of the question.
And I believe, because I'm going to answer, because Lex is trying to play
My
me
bad, I
right
tried to
now.
cut her.
So
Ah.
segregation, I believe it made you have to depend on your community, because there wasn't
Okay.
nobody else for you to
I like
depend
that.
on.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good
Okay.
one. That's a good one.
All right. So
Integrate.
integration allowed you to not, or not to.
Integration allowed you to.
Or integration allowed you not to have to take responsibility for your actions.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think I gotta think about this. I think integration allowed you. I guess I really don't, because I don't really see the benefit outside of like
What
better
you said
schools
earlier.
and books.
Yeah, besides
But,
that.
like I don't really see
It doesn't have to be a
I guess
benefit.
it made you like.
It could be a con. It could be a con.
I'm trying to think. I don't want. I'm trying to be politically correct too.
No, we are politically incorrect in
Right.
this space.
Politically correct.
I guess
We live in a
integration-
politically incorrect society.
And he said it. Bow. That's it. Bow, chicka, wow, wow. Go ahead.
It made you have to. I guess have to do other stuff and have to be more resourceful, and step outside of what you know.
But
Because,
that was it's segregated. But what did integration cause you?
segregation.
Yeah, but what did integration do?
Damn.
I really can't think of anything
Okay.
good outside of people that didn't have books maybe had books.
Okay.
No,
Okay,
It
yeah,
could
true
be-
that. True that. We have books now.
It could be a negative.
Right.
Like I believe integration allowed you to not be creative, not to think outside the box, because they already have these establishments for you.
Integration made you get on their buses.
I guess
And ride with
integration
them.
made you have to learn about other cultures outside of yours.
Okay.
That's what, that's
Good.
what I was
Go
going to
ahead,
do.
go ahead,
Say
say that.
integration made you see the bigger picture.
Right.
It did.
It wasn't a
Integration-
bigger picture?
Was it a better picture?
integration allowed you to not. So
Oh,
what did you
not.
not do anymore once you started integrating that you were doing while you were segregated?
I did not think for myself.
Stop
Oh.
depending on community as much.
Right.
Like she
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah,
So
that's
I guess the
only thing
opposite of
did.
everything what we
We
said.
did not create industry. We did not think for ourselves. We did not take accountability for all the wrongs we did. We always tried to put it on the white man when it's
Remember,
actually
we
ourselves.
started,
We
though.
never-
We individualized and went like to our little
our little
masters,
corners.
little
And integration
things.
also separated us as a people, because
It
then
did.
we have the people that are pro advancement, and then we have the people that say, "Oh, stop saying that. Why you doing that? Stop ruffling
And
your
then
feathers.
you're
Stop
in
doing
here
that
listening
stuff."
to this dynamic. Before in the black school, when you went to black school, they're teaching you, oh, we got to do this, or it was Dr. Drew and this, da, da, da. Now when you're like integrated, you're listening to a different dynamic of a different teaching. They're not teaching you about your great forefathers. They're teaching you
Yeah,
about their great
forefathers.
forefathers. So now
Integration
you're
stole you.
right. So now you're starting to believe a
Introduced
different dynamic, and you may conclude something that may be far from the truth.
I got you. Integration helped us not learn about our history.
And go ahead.
Because they had a motive.
Yeah.
Right.
That's and their entire motive was to not allow you to see your value, like I was saying.
Right.
That's a good
Segregation
one.
let you see your
Yeah.
value.
Integration did not let you learn about your value.
I feel
Okay.
like integration allowed you to not create, because remember in 1920s we had that Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Yeah,
that
Black
whole
Wall
Black
Street.
We
Wall
had our
Street.
own black
We ain't
presses.
never
We
tried
had
to
our
create
own
nothing like that again.
seamstresses.
And I
Now
will
we don't
say,
clean, we don't cook, we don't do anything.
I will say that they came in and burnt that down. That's not
Right.
something that we tore down
But
ourselves.
it's true
but-
though. It's like every time like we try to do things like that, something comes and attacks it.
But
When
I
there's
don't
a,
think,
like,
you think now that would happen?
Yes.
It's
But
still
we just
It
happening.
another-
happens in
It's
other
still
episodes.
happening.
They
We
just
not-
fight. They can continue.
Bill
to fight.
Cosby was about to
Like-
buy a TV network. And before he
All of a sudden
purchased his
it's-
TV network, all of a sudden there are all of these things that happened
do you
20 and 30 years ago that I don't agree with if he did those things. But it's just ironic that every time a successful, powerful black man has ownership over something, like the media, that controls single-handedly how blacks are viewed,
You need to come
that
back on
they're
the media
attacked.
episode.
Back to what he was saying, because usually sometimes
So
when
good.
he says it, sometimes I find like a hole in. But what he's saying is important, because he said we don't fight. We don't. You have some people, there's other people outside of Bill Cosby that try to buy networks, but they don't highlight them. And they talk about it. The guy who created that show, it's a comedy show on one of the networks, I forgot. It's something like Whose Line Is That Anyway, but other people
Drew
come
Carey.
like,
I tell you this: in every other culture, whether you white Aryan nation to Hindu, whatever, when something it doesn't matter if they're captain or whatever, somebody standing up to the plate, they're not letting nothing
they're not letting it fly.
tip over. No,
Integration
stacking it right back
helped us
up.
not create a
You
leader.
knock one
and
down,
have
we're gonna build up
representation.
two. You knock two down, we're gonna put four up this time. In our world, it's like, okay, one person gets beat and everybody's like, oh,
Don't do that.
Oh, don't do
But
that.
we know why.
And I
We
get
know
that.
why, but
I get that.
that's a
but-
whole.
It's not an
nother-
excuse though.
it's a
That's
whole
why it's
nother
important
because
to
it was
have.
killing at that time.
We're
Now
not-
it's not.
That's
now
why it's important to have this dialogue and these discussions to understand why we do that. Where did it come from? But now
But we
we
get
talk
into
about
that.
it to enlighten.
Because of
and to-
integration.
because of integration.
Yeah, but
And also support. That's another thing that we will see somebody doing something
Get
in
into
the
that.
right way, but we may not fully support. It's like, oh, Nipsey dies, now everybody want to fully
Yeah.
support.
Let the
Or,
church say
you know,
amen.
you get these, I'm not.
Yeah.
I know we bring up Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Yeah.
But those are the guys. That was our last like wave of
Yeah. And it's
people
true.
who were backing other people. Now we see somebody do something and we like, all right, well, we're gonna see how it works first.
No, not even that.
And then we
You'll
go-
see somebody. And this is. I'm glad that you said that because that was very, very, very amazing. You'll see somebody. This I'm gonna say it real quickly. Online, look at these blogs.
No, you could have.
Go ahead. We
No,
got
no, finish.
No, I'm
So
saying, what? Because I have to say this. What he's saying is true. Support. You'll see a black person doing something really amazing within life online. They're posting it. Buy into my business. Then you'll go read those comments. They lighten them ablaze.
You ain't heard about them comments.
You don't see a white blog where they're going in on white people like
Hello.
that.
not the white people. They not
White
going
people
in on
don't
each
go
other.
in
don't
on white
do
people
that.
like that.
And
They
I'm
don't have
talking
They don't
time
have
for that.
white. They don't
It's all
have.
about their dollar.
What is the white shade room? Where is it?
Oh.
TMZ?
No.
No.
because they're reporting on
use
black
us.
people.
They use
They're
us.
reporting on black
They
people.
report on black
Hilton.
people.
What is the
Hilton.
like? You know what I'm saying? Where is he now? That's another thing. This is a Hollywood Unlocked shade room baller alert world. Period.
Blank. Period. And on
Back in the
that,
day.
Jasmine
I
Brandon.
know, right? Okay.
Yeah,
So this is
Right. But I'm saying though,
you're right.
leave
even when
me in.
when these people these doing these ads, these black businesses doing ads, you see them promoting their products. I'm like, oh, this looks dope. Then next thing you know, I read the comments. I'm like, I'm out. I'm heading out.
tapped out.
I'm heading
And
out.
I don't
Let's
do
go.
that because I recently said something about ASAP Rocky, and I would never get on any platform and be like, don't support him. Even though I don't agree with some of the
I
stuff
would
he
never
said,
say
I would
that.
never, because I'm like
Never.
Issa Rae. I'm for what she
Anybody
said?
black. I'm rooting for anybody black.
That's
Okay.
Yeah, so we gonna
I'm
close
black
it out with
black
that.
and I'm
So,
black, y'all.
words of wisdom. Let's talk about words of
All
wisdom.
right. At that time, in 1890, the separate but equal doctrine was the best thing for Africans in America. Continuing segregation would have forced black people to unite, create their own industry, and foster relationships within the race. In turn, the blacks in America may have been stronger. In turn, the blacks in America may have been prouder to be black and prouder to live in their own skin. In turn, blacks in America would have had more of their own people who look like them to admire and to aspire to be like. Instead, with desegregation, black people assimilated, integrated, blended, and forgot how much pain and strife that was endured by the Africans that were brought here to America as slaves. While we believe that integration was a help, it was a hindrance to our people.
Look at that. Oh, well, let's get a hand clap on that one. Let's clap, 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 clap.
Preaching to the
Alright.
choir.
Like that.
So we challenge you to be a greater black person in this Black History Month, and we want you to dig into your mind. And you know what's a funny quote I read the other day? Somebody said, oh, I'm already 30. I don't got time to be a doctor. And their mother said to them, well, you going to be 30 anyway, so you might as well go ahead and try to be a doctor. So there we go.
I like that.
You going to be 30 anyway, ho? So let me say, that's
Ain't
what my
no
mom would
time
say.
like the present.
Ain't no time like the present. So it doesn't matter what age you are, where you come from, which state of mind you're in. We all have struggles. But you know, it doesn't matter if you start early or you start late, as long as you get to the finish line. And we want to make sure that we all get to the finish line so we can see black people
And
like
keep
us.
supportive people in your corner.
Keep
That's
supportive
why
people in
I
your
keep
corner.
people like, I don't really like them, but I keep them in my circle.
We cool.
because they put- no, I'm
That's why I be
joking.
relieved. That's why I be a Panama. That's why I be tired. You know, we
No,
cool. We got good
That's
people.
because
Supportive
we
people
are
around.
a collective.
We are collective
And when
black
I see a hustle in another minority or whoever I see it in, you could be blue, yellow, pink. Of course, I'm trying to go to help my tribe. At the end of the day, when I see a hustle in a black person, to me, that's like, oh my God, they're trying to do something like me. She got a business. Her and her mom working together. That reminds me of me and my dad. We used to, we could edit that out.
I know, it's okay.
Me and my dad, and my brothers, we all worked together for my whole life. All of us. We had
That's
a
dope.
family business, and we're still all great friends. And the thing about it is, people everybody don't have that upbringing. So some black people don't feel that that's possible, but it's up for us to show them. Like, you know, like people like, oh, Lee, you travel a lot, but they don't understand. I didn't always do that. There was a time where I couldn't go nowhere because I didn't know how and I didn't have no money. So at the end of the day, but
I driving at him.
But
I admire Lee. Lee came in my shop. I looked at Lee. I said, "Damn, Lee told me what to do. He gave me the blueprint. He like, all right, let's do it."
I wanted you to marry Lee.
Right. Look, Lee. But you know, Lee is quite the catch. But
Thank you so much. You fine or whatever.
I'm alright. Ladies, never give a guy that much. Never give a guy that much. I tell my sister, never give a guy too many compliments.
So
but it's alright because it was better for her to have you as a friend. You were a better friend and a better man.
Listen,
for her.
Here we go. These closing
we are not putting Lex on a single, but dating all this. We getting out on the kin.
But I love Lee.
And all this stuff.
We gotta close this out.
Close it out.
So thank y'all for listening. It was just so much to talk about, and we thank you so much at having you as a guest. Like you taught me a lot today.
This was lit,
awesome.
and I can't wait to see where you guys go. I want to help.
Follow
from the beginning when you guys told me about the idea. I said go for it. That's also black supporting black. So just keep
Lee
doing.
was like, do this. Don't worry.
Don't worry. Just to everybody that's trying to do something, stop planning and just get up and do it. You're gonna plan 10 years and never do nothing. Get up and do it. If you fall, you'll learn what not to do next time. Just do it.
Failing is the first attempt in learning. So make sure you get that.
You can't make that same mistake again. If you do, then it's on you.
Yep.
Hit us up on our Instagram. Don't say that. 3 H's. Our website. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us. Subscribe everywhere. Follow us.
Google
Spotify,
Podcasts.
Anchor. Donate to us. Become a patron on Patreon. Donate to us on Anchor. Every little bit counts. I'm Nikki.
It's Lexi. And don't say the N-word this month. Please. We're working on it.
We got some more posts. Follow us on Instagram. We have more posts that we're not going to discuss right now that we want y'all to follow for the month of February. So this is...
Don't say that. Don't say that shit.
And please donate to these people. This is a good cause. Come on, y'all. We got some money in the black community.
We out. Like our shirt said, we out.
We out.
This is dope.